The Pokemon franchise features some hefty mons weighing up to 2,204.4 pounds. But does more weight really equal more strength and power? Well, that's what we'll be figuring out today by only using heavy Pokemon in a hardcore Nuzlocke. Now, for the sake of this video, I've deemed anything over 300 pounds to be heavy. Because, come on, if you saw someone benching 300 pounds in the gym, you would say, wow, that's pretty heavy. It's also worth mentioning that I am going to allow myself to catch the pre-evolutions of most of my team members, since there aren't just fully evolved Pokemon wandering around in the wild. Just in case you don't know the rules to a hardcore Nuzlocke, here they are on the screen. Make sure to hit that sub button as it really helps out the channel, and without further ado, it's time to attempt a Pokemon Emerald hardcore Nuzlocke only using heavy Pokemon. Right off the bat, I selected Lunatone as my starter. It comes in at a weight of 370.4 pounds, and Lunatone surprisingly isn't available in Pokemon Emerald, so I figured it would be a great choice to start out with. I named it Goodnight after that legendary children's book that I read all the time when I was younger, titled Goodnight Moon. Maze Torchic was no problem at all on Route 103, and let's be honest, the early routes in a Pokemon game are never an issue, so let's move on to the first real test, Roxanne. Fortunately, Lunatone learned Confusion at level 7, which is a move that her Geodudes couldn't withstand. Nosepass took it a little better, but after Roxanne used a couple of potions, we obtained the first badge. After saving the best bird in all the land, Pico, we could finally add some new members to the team. First on the list was Magikarp in Doofertown, as Gyarados sits at 518.1 pounds, and second was Makuhita in the Granite Cave. Hariyama rolls in at 559.5 pounds, and it's a good thing that I didn't encounter a Geodude instead, because although Golem is a usable mon in this run, I can find Geodude pretty soon in the game anyways, as opposed to Makuhita, who isn't available again until Victory Road. Lunatone really said a good night to Brawly's team, as he failed to land a single hit point of damage during the battle. Route 110 featured our first real showdown with May, whose Wingull didn't stand a chance, but her Lumbre put some good damage on Makuhita before eventually going down. This forced me to switch back into Lunatone for her Combuskin, resulting in an easy knockout. Do I even need to show you the Wally battle in Mauville City? Not really. Although, I guess you're seeing it right now? Alright, on to Watson. I was really expecting this one to go bad, but thanks to our newly evolved Hariyama, only Manectric gave us issues, and that's only because we had some bad luck with paralysis. Nonetheless, no one perished, and we got the third badge. A static Geodude was waiting for us inside the rocks on Route 111, and so was a Numel on Route 112. Golem and Camerupt weigh in at 661.4 and 485 pounds respectively, meaning we'll soon have some hefty boys. The first match with Maxie on Mount Chimney was a piece of cake, and honestly, are Maxie and Archie ever a problem in the Gen 3 games? Anyways, after taking a pit stop in the Lavaridge Hot Springs with some old people, because that's not weird for a Pokemon game or anything, it was time for Flannery. Numel and Slugma both got O-code, while Lunatone put Camerupt to sleep and whittled it down. We had a close call with Torkoal though, as after she put up the sun, one overheat nearly took out Graveler from full health. Luckily, all I had to do was send out Gyarados, who got the job done. Then it was right over to Petalburg for a match against Norman, whose first three Pokemon all got wiped out by a few Vital Throws from Hariyama. However, he didn't have enough health remaining to deal with slacking, so I switched into Lunatone. I thought I was safe by putting him to sleep and setting up with Cosmic Power, but thanks to a critical feint attack, Lunatone sadly went down, resulting in our first death of the run. So it was up to Gyarados to finish the fight with Dragon Rage. Losing our starter wasn't too big of a deal though, as I could replace Lunatone with a Solrock from Meteor Falls, who weighs 339.5 pounds. They're both the same typing, and they learn similar moves, so I'm really not bothered by that death. Our hardcore Nuzlocke was actually going so well that these people offered to interview me and describe how I felt about it. And there was no better way to put it besides Barboach. Yeah, that's right. Barboach. Moving on, Mei wasn't a threat at all, because when is she ever, but the same can't be said for Winona. Hariyama easily dealt with Swablu, but I had to send in Camerupt for Skarmory. Due to a single sand attack, I missed 3 embers, meaning Camerupt barely put any damage on her before I was forced to switch. The sight of Gyarados scared Winona so much that she sent out Pelipper, who didn't go down until I of course hit myself in confusion a couple of times with Dragon Rage. That rendered Gyarados useless, so it was back out to Hariyama, who barely hung on to take out Tropius. At this point, my team was really weak, and Winona used a Hyper Potion on Skarmory, so Solrock left the team just as quickly as it joined it. Gyarados was able to finish Skarmory off with the Surf, but I had to sack him off against Altaria. And honestly, I was just lucky enough that Winona used a Dragon Dance while Graveler took down Altaria, or I would have lost more Pokemon. On the bright side, I am planning to catch a few water types soon in the game anyways. And when I say soon, I mean right now, because I added a Feebas to the squad. Now, did I catch this thing the legitimate way? That's for you to decide. All that matters is that my Milotic sits at 357.1 pounds, so it's coming on the team. The last battle with Mei wasn't difficult at all, but Maxie was actually a threat. I didn't realize how underleveled I was going into the fight, so almost all of my mons ended up getting put in the yellow health range. Fortunately, Milotic was able to outspeed and finish off Crobat and also Oko Camerupt. I then picked up a Spiel in the Shoal Cave, which I had to make sure it was high tide in order to catch, since I could have gotten Snorunt for a Glalie instead. But I think a 332 pound Walrein is a much better option. Tate and Liza really made things difficult though. Xatu went down without a problem thanks to Golem's Rock Blast, but Claydol's Earthquake was dishing out a bunch of damage. Milotic's Surf was hitting them hard right back, but because Tate and Liza have so many stupid Hyper Potions, it didn't really matter. Eventually, Solrock got knocked out, but at this point both Milotic and Camerupt were in red health. I decided to get off one more Surf with Milotic before letting it go down. Golem then immediately died upon being sent in, since the turn wasn't over, which is unfair if you ask me. Now that Tate and Liza were out of healing items though, one Surf from Celio got the job done. Losing Milotic and Golem really stings, but at least I have 2 more encounters to get. One of them being Wailord on Route 129. This 877.4 pound beast will be a solid replacement for Milotic. The double battle against Maxie wasn't nearly as scary as the last fight with him, Archie was a piece of cake, and I had to tell Rayquaza that his kids were arguing again. This is probably a good time to mention that I'm not allowing myself to use any of the legendaries, even though most of them do make the weight requirement, but that would just be too cheap. As for Juan, his team was relatively easy to defeat, thanks to a critical Surf on Crawdaunt, and the fact that Kingdra loved to use Rest, making him an easy KO for Hariyama. From there, I caught my last team member, which was a Lairon in Victory Road. Aggron stomps in at 793.7 pounds, and I'm hoping the amount of resistances it has will come in handy in the Elite Four. Before we could get there though, we had to deal with Wally, who didn't give us very many problems at all, meaning the only thing standing in our way was the Pokemon League. First in line was Sydney, who had no answer for the combo of Hariyama and Walrein. Similarly, Phoebe had no response for Wailord, as he surprisingly swept her entire team with Water Spout and Surf. Glacia was a bit more challenging thanks to her Walrein, who got whittled down by my own Walrein before being finished off by Hariyama. Drake, as expected, gave me the most issues. Shogun and Altaria went down just fine, but Kingdra put a lot of damage on Wailord, even though I got a lucky crit with Facade. Flygon almost took out Hariyama, before Walrein had to come in for the cleanup, and also hang on from a Salamence Rock Slide, and one-shot him with Blizzard. Wow, I honestly didn't think we'd make it all the way through the Elite Four without a death. However, Wallace was a whole different story. The Wailord Honor Battle went my way, but Ludicolo knew Giga Drain, so he easily dealt with Wailord. Due to Ludicolo using Double Team, I had to send out Hariyama since Vital Throw never misses. After that, Whiscash came out, and thanks to Wallace using 2 full restores, he managed to knock out Walrein. Hariyama finished the job, but then Tentacruel got sent out, and I could tell it was over. Hariyama was already in yellow health, and all I had left in the back was Camerupt and Aggron. All I could hope for was Hydro Pump to miss, but that didn't happen, so my final 3 team members perished, and this hardcore Nuzlocke came crashing down. For a majority of this run, all I could think about is how I was going to deal with Wallace if I reached him, because almost every usable Pokemon in this Nuzlocke was weak to water. And lo and behold, my water weakness ended up being the bane of my existence. Nonetheless, I had a ton of fun attempting yet another hardcore Nuzlocke, and maybe I'll have to do a run with only lightweight Pokemon next time in order to see how they compare against the heavy ones. For now though, I hope you guys enjoyed, have a great rest of your day, and until next time, deuces!